this is Tony.
This is Paul coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast.
And we're go.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Tonight, our special guest is Amy Rohdy, the Executive Director of NOWAC. Let's go check in and see how Amy's doing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. Tonight, we have Amy Rohdy. Thank you for coming tonight. We're very excited to have you on the podcast. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. Hello.
Yeah, so welcome to our ever-changing podcast. Every time we pop on, everything's different. So
that's the best part about it. I think more people come to see the different things than anything else.
Yeah, so Amy, you're the executive director of NOWAC. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your path to this career with the government and things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of been a crazy ride. I wish I had a really feel-good story for you, but I actually graduated college with a marketing degree, and no one really told me when I was in college that there just wasn't a lot of marketing degrees around Northwest Ohio. So it took me about 2 years to land a marketing degree, and unfortunately, the company I worked for closed its doors about a year after I started working for them. So I actually was looking for employment when I saw an opening at a provider agency here in Defiance, and just decided to apply. I thought it would be an interesting job, and so I started working in the office with the provider agency. And I was there for about a little shy of 7 years. Moved over to the admin end with going over to NOWAC, and I served as the business manager there for several years. And then I took over as director at NOWAC about 2 years ago.
So you literally kind of started from the bottom and just worked your way up.
Yep. I never actually served as a DSP. I do have a cousin who has Down syndrome, so the passion to be in the field was laid kind of with her my entire life. She's the same age as me, so grew up with her. And then, once I got in it, I just kind of knew that this was the field that I wanted to stick with. So
definitely. Hey, I love that. That always intrigues me because people who've ever listened to me, not only on the podcast, but know who I feel like you either need to be a DSP or have a very close relationship to somebody to really understand the field of work. If not, you don't really get it until you dive deep into it. So all in all, how long has that been? Because you don't look anything a day over 25.
Well, thank you. I've been in the field about a decade.
Okay, beautiful.
Yep. So been with NOWAC for about 5 years now. So about almost, I guess it's been a little bit more than that if you do math, I guess. So I was about 7 years with the provider agency and about 5 with NOWAC. So I guess 7 plus 5 equals 12. So
I want to rewind real quick, and I want to go back even further. Were you one of those type of people who held a teenage job, or were you a teenager and did fast food or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. I actually been working since I was 16. Nice. I started with Chief Supermarkets. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, we have
heard
one
about them.
Yes, we have one in Wasion. It's a couple of counties over.
Yes. So I worked at Chief Festive Foods, which was at the north side of Defiance, and they actually closed their doors too. Oh. So I actually transferred to the Napoleon one, and then back to the Defiance one. So I was with Chief for almost 7 years as well.
Oh, good. See, a lot of that good work experience. If it's anything that Paul and I really enjoy is hardworking people, especially from early on. We think it builds a lot of character.
Yeah, I had my first job when I was 14. Wouldn't recommend that. But I wanted to buy a guitar amp, so it was the only way I could afford it.
Where was it?
I worked for my uncle. He has a landscaping
You know
company.
what? Yep, I remember you telling me that.
Not fun.
I would have never did it. I used to go out.
I was going to say, if you count babysitting, I think I started babysitting when I was about 11, which seems crazy to me as a parent now that I would entrust my children in the arms of my son is 10, going to be 11, and there's no way I would trust him to babysit. I was babysitting babies, so.
Yeah, the times have definitely changed. I feel the same way. We don't even let my 18-year-old babysit the four younger ones.
Yes.
So do you think in any way, a lot of people, marketing is pretty important, I guess, for a lot of businesses in a lot of ways because it's your connection with the people. Do you think that the marketing background is conducive to like what you do now as an executive director? Does you feel like it's helped you in ways, maybe thinking outside the box and different than the traditional path to getting up to that position?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. I mean, absolutely. I think there's things I learned in college that in the marketing field that have been advantageous to my position. I really like data mining, so I like looking at more of like the marketing data side of things rather than the creative end. Things I have done since I started with NOWAC, one of them that I have done is I had the logo redone and have kind of rebranded NOWAC as a council of governments, which I can get into what that means in a minute. But definitely, like, that was my passion. I knew the importance of getting us rebranded. So those things translated over to some of those things I've already done as director at NOWAC. But it also, like, when it comes, one of the things the county boards need help with, and you guys can probably relate, is DSP recruitment. And while I haven't been able to make a lot of headway in that area yet since I took over as director, like, I do think the marketing background can assist along with my experience working for the provider agency.
Yeah. And can you, give us a little background about kind of what NOAC's all about and kind of how your direction with the organization is facing or steering towards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So NOAC, as I mentioned, is a council of government, or a COG, which is the term we use. Many people don't know what that really means. I really honestly didn't know what it meant. Hopefully I can do a good enough job explaining it. But so Ohio Revised Code, which anybody who works in our field knows that we're dictated by a lot of Ohio Revised Code. But in Chapter 167 is basically, it gives county boards the ability to form a regional subdivision. So what that is a council of governments, and what that means is we're just an extension of the county board. So I have 7 county boards in our area that feed into my organization. They basically formed our COG. They pay membership dues, and then they can tap into regional services that maybe they wouldn't be able to support at their level. So for an example, in the Ohio Revised Code, it's every county board has to have an investigator that investigates abuse, neglect, misappropriation. Well, one of our county boards may only have a few of those a month, so they can't really justify the cost on hiring a full-time investigator when maybe this month they have 1 and next month they have 4. So they pool their money together, and NOAC hires the investigator, and then they all pay for that service. So they are able to meet what they're required. The requirement is in the Ohio Revised Code, while doing it most effectively with the taxpayer dollars.
And cost effectiveness is a very big deal in our line of work, because there are just so many overhead fees, in a sense, because of the lack of, I guess, revenue. Right. So that is, I take my hat off, because I went to a lot of the meetings, especially during COVID, and we got to see each other a lot, Amy. During a lot of the tough times, and I found it very informative, very helpful, and a place that I could go and I could talk about my issues and leave with some sort of knowledge to help progress our field.
Yeah, and I think that's where my background's a little unique. I've been with a provider agency. Now I'm on the admin end. So I see both views. I see all the problems or issues facing both parties. And county boards, and I think providers would say too, that they really want that relationship to work between the county board and the provider. And
Definitely.
sometimes that's not that easy. Everybody, comes to the table with their own agenda. So I really feel like my background gives me an advantage to be able to bridge that gap a little bit and really make people feel comfortable addressing some of the issues that need addressed in order to build those relationships. Because at the end of the day, both parties, I think, would agree that we want to do the best and provide the best services to the people in the field.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're the most important. And whatever we can do to provide great services, I think we can both agree on that.
Definitely. I see it all the time. It's always issue, I think, with bickering between sometimes county boards and agencies, when there should be more coming together and appreciating the fact that both of us are here for that individual. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
So do you think what, like with COVID and everything, how has it impacted just the field as a whole? Because I know a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff right now. It was bad for a while, and then it kind of slowed down and people started to get lax. And then here we are again. It's starting to kind of like tumble, and we've got the governor talking about another shutdown. How are you adapting, and how do you think that people are taking this? Yeah.
It's been quite the ride, I'll tell you that. I mean, I think there's so many layers to it. I mean, me as the leader in my organization, I have all of my employees to take care of first. So I have all the HR type issues, with working remote and, kids being home and trying to remote learn with their children while still trying to be flexible and getting their workday in. So you have, and I think that's across all organizations, not just mine, but you have that with all the employees that you're dealing with. And that's provider end and county board end. And then you have the effect of COVID on many different levels. So you have the financial impact with day hub sites being shut down. You have your HPC providers now having to provide 24-hour care. So overtime costs are through the roof. You don't have the staff to do 24 hours a day. Not only because there was a staffing crisis before COVID hit, but now you're dealing with all the DSPs who could be on unemployment making, $600 more. So,
yes.
Yeah. Plus they're dealing with the same issues with their kids being home. And, you have all of those variables that you're trying to pull together. You've got things on the Medicaid side with like the match money. And then, just the 10-person limit for day hub sites, and them actually not even being able to open for a long time, a lot longer than some of the other things that were shut down. It's ever changing. I mean, the amount of info that has come out from March until now, it's just crazy. Like I actually started an inbox in my, in my email that says COVID, and I actually scroll back through it every once in a while, and I'm like, just the focus from March until now, it's just amazing.
It's it can get overwhelming, a lot, like you said, and even for providers to try to keep up with it, even county officials, like it's so much. It's one of those things. I also think that it takes people like us to be able to sit down, because there's so many questions asked and we don't know how to answer those questions right away. But it takes for, I think, people like ourselves to be able to calm the public down and calm our employees down, to be able to show, hey, we're going to get through it, but we can't get all nervous about it and create havoc for ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And I commend the providers, because you have everything I just mentioned, plus you have the individuals and all of their families and guardians as well to contend with. So you have to protect your employees, and then you also have to protect the individuals.
Yes.
But then you also have the individual's rights, and, people want to see their family members. But you guys, I don't know how you guys handled it specifically, but I know there was a lot of provider agencies that weren't allowing their individuals to go out into the community or to go home for the weekend, just to, mitigate that risk to their staff members and to other individuals. And I know that was really hard to navigate because, the individual's rights to be able to go out and do things. So I really commend that extra level from the providers.
Well, on behalf of all the providers of our area, thank you for that. And, I do know of some places that were hit very hard. Still to this day, we've been so blessed either. Only a handful of individuals. Actually, we can only think of one individual that actually had it and 3 staff that did, and 2 others who were inconclusive when they took their tests. But we try our hardest to be as safe as possible. We train and retrain. We do a lot to try to stay on the higher end of it. But no matter what you do, it's still one of those things that, like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And the best thing you can do is try to contain it. And that's my personal belief.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we spent so much. I apologize if you can hear my dog snoring in the background.
That's all right. We love puppies.
She snores really loud, so I apologize. But, at the beginning, I think we were blessed in a way, if that's what you want to call it. We, at first, when the virus hit, we kind of flipped out, trying to get everything in order, PPE in place and, just those policies and procedures, and how are we going to handle this, and what's the emergency plan for that. And we were blessed that we didn't have any cases for a very long time. And I think we kind of let our guard down a little bit, because I think we got through so many months there where nothing really hit the way we thought it would. Well, I think now we're starting to see what we were preparing for. So I just hope that we use that time wisely and got everything in place to the point where it's not detrimental to our field as cases keep rising.
What do you think is the kind of projection moving forward? I mean, eventually at some point, COVID will hopefully decrease or go away, or they will come up with a vaccine or something. Do you think this is going to be, and this is hypothetical, nobody knows the answer, but do you think, you think this is going to be longer than people think, or you think there's going to be some resolution here in the next, few months maybe?
Oh, that's a tough prediction. Yeah, I personally, I feel it's going to be long. I know people are very excited or motivated by this vaccine that's supposed to come out. They said possibly even in December, but, right. And I know that our population is, higher on the list to receive that vaccine, but I just think that it's not, I don't think we're at the 3-month mark yet, where if we get through the next 3 months, then, things will start turning a corner. I think it's going to take a while before we actually turn a corner. But gosh, I surely hope by the end of 2021, we're still not talking about this at the level we are today.
Wow. Amen to that.
Yeah. I also would have thought back in March when it hit that if I would have thought 2 weeks and we'll be good. I never would have thought we would have gotten to the end of 2020 still talking about it either. So
I think I told my wife, I was like, man, by June, everything's going to blow over. Everything's going to be all right. Yep. And I was wrong.
Yep.
It's scary because you don't know what to do. There was 4 to 6 months where we didn't record any podcasts because it was all the equipment was here. We're not sure if we're supposed to go and to do anything, and it's been pretty messed up. But I guess let's move away from COVID, because everybody talks about it too much at this point. That's all we talk about anymore. Do you have any advice for someone coming into the field, since you're at an executive director level? Say someone is new in the field and they find they have a passion for it. Do you have any advice for them to maybe move up or to further their career in the disability field, whether in the private sector or the public sector, like you're at?
Right.
Any good advice for them?
Well, I guess it really depends on where they want to stay. I think there's a lot of work to be done on the provider level, and I think there's a lot of work to be done on the county board level. I think people somehow think that the county board level or the admin level is where you need to be to advance in this field, and that's not true. I mean, I know plenty of provider agencies that do really great things, and they really advocate for the things in the field that providers need. So I guess it really depends on their passion. I know SSAs are also becoming a line of work they need SSAs now too. Not quite as bad as DSPs. I think DSPs are undervalued in our field. Like, they do the hard work that the rest of us are kind of out there. We're doing important things too, but they're doing the most important job. And I think they're undervalued in that way. So I don't think it's always about advancing. I think it's about finding that fulfillment in whatever work that you do. I know we talked about how I've worked since I was 16. It doesn't matter what you do in life, as long as whatever you're doing at 110%. So if you want to be a DSP, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you go out there and you do that at 110%. That's all that matters.
I agree with that so much. I think, and I guess it's going to go kind of backwards to the COVID thing. I think this will wake up, though, administrations and some of the government to understand what our DSPs and our healthcare workers go through. I do hopefully see change in the next few years to help increase wages for those people, increase trainings, increase the options that they can have to help the individuals we serve. Because I literally I was going through old pay stubs and stuff. I had to work like 90 hours a week to actually be able to survive, for a family. And that can be draining. Mm-hmm. And I'm the one to say, like, we have so many opportunities to be able to relax and sit back, but it's mentally draining because you're sitting there and you have to think about giving care to a person day in and day out. Now, every individual is different. Some are easier to complete those tasks versus others that may be a daily every 10-minute task to have to keep someone focused or engaged in something. And
absolutely,
it's hard to be able to give up your life for that. So I do think, and this is why I am personally in certain politics and certain government aspects now, so I can help do those changes, give those changes. I talk to our senators. I speak to our mayors and governors, and so they're going to listen one way or another.
Yes. And I think that's, you brought up some very good points, Tony. I think your voice is a very powerful tool. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think providers are so overwhelmed with just the daily tasks and, really staffing. Like, your most important thing is making sure that individual has staff, 24 hours a day, or, if someone doesn't show up for their shift, or, there's a fog delay or a snow day that now they're home all day, you have to staff that. And I think the role of administration in that is to ease that burden for providers so they can go out there and advocate for those things and really learn the field. I'll be honest with you. I don't think providers have time to learn the intricacies of our field because they're so inundated with the staffing issues and the day-to-day tasks that, frankly, I think they need assistance with.
You are 100% correct. I
Yes.
couldn't pay my supervisors enough, I think. Um, Doing the work that they did, although I even did it myself, I still don't think, I know I wasn't paid enough, and I know I'm not paying them enough because it's like the money isn't there. Like I could give
Right.
them every dollar that I make and it still wouldn't be enough, because when you
Right.
genuinely care so much, it's like putting a price on on motherhood. And
Hmm.
Amy, you know how much I love babies, and we had that
Yes.
discussion before. We love babies, but it's like you can't put a price on that. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Absolutely true.
So government, listen to us. Give us more the money. Give us the money.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah. So, Amy, one question we always like to ask people on the podcast, and if you don't have any, don't just say so. But Tony and I are big book nerds.
Yes.
Do you have any? It doesn't even have to be related to the field. Do you have any really books that are powerful to you, or that you kind of, you know, advise people to listen to or read or anything of that nature?
Oh, that's kind of a tough one. Well, I'll be
Hmm.
honest with you. Like I used to read a lot, and between motherhood and work, I actually listen to podcasts a whole lot more. Um, Off the top of my head, probably the last lecture is one of my favorite books, and also Tuesdays with Maury. I would say those are kind of my top two favorites. Um, but I'll throw in podcasts since I also
Please.
listen to
Yeah.
podcasts a lot. Yeah, like that's my new reading, I guess,
Yes.
quote unquote. I listen to a podcast called Terrible. Thanks for asking. Um, Kind of morbid in a way, but it talks about kind of people's darkest days. Like, so when people ask you on the street, how are you? Like, you really want to
Yeah.
say, I'm terrible, but thank you for asking. But we don't, as a society, say that. We just say we're great because no one actually wants to hear the true story. So they
Mhm.
actually interview people that tell the true story, their worst day of their life. So yeah, so that's, I'm
Well,
going to loop in those podcasts.
yeah, sometimes those are the best stories though, because
They are.
I do listen to a lot of podcasts as well because I mean that's what Tony pays me to do. So
Yeah.
I do quite enjoy them. And is there any stories in there that particularly stick out to you? Because although it can be a little depressing, some of those lessons you learn from kind of not, I don't want to say scary or like disheartening stories, they really kind of put you in a different perspective,
Mhm.
and that's not always a bad thing in my opinion.
Right. Actually, I listened to an episode recently that I found very interesting. It was on racial inequality, because that's a hot topic in our society right
Mm,
now.
yes.
And it was about a woman, a very successful woman who happened to be Black, and she had 5 children from her husband, who she'd been married to for many, many years. And her youngest, she actually had 2 sets of twins, and the youngest of her second set of twins had autism. And she walked through the trouble she had getting the diagnosis for autism because people presumed she was a Black woman with 5 children. She must be on welfare.
Oh,
And so they
yes.
thought she was playing the system. And so that story obviously hit very, very close to home with
Mhm.
being in our field. And then also it kind of went a step further and talked about, I don't know if you guys are familiar with children who have an autism diagnosis, that there's a therapy out there called play services. You
I've
can be a
read
play
something about
consultant.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So NOWAC actually has a play consultant that goes into homes. Well, not right now. It's all virtual now, but and does this play therapy. Well, this in the podcast, they also talked about how the play services are not tailored to different cultures. So, for example, one of the play techniques is teaching her son how to brush a baby doll's hair.
Hmm.
Well, as a Black person, you don't brush a baby
Yeah.
doll's hair the same way you would a
You would.
white baby. And how
True.
Yeah.
in the play services they're not even tailored to different cultures. And that was a huge eye opener for me being in this field and offering those services. So I actually immediately emailed the play group and shared about the podcast, because I was just, it just, it's like one of those episodes that just resonates with you, and just you think about it long after it's over.
That's a true eye opener. Like my children are biracial. My wife is Caucasian, and the fact that my kids look at me and they, Dad, you don't have any hair. Why do you brush it? And it's like, hey, it has to look a certain type of way for me, and
Right.
and people just don't really understand it. And it's one of those things that I used to always ask my wife, like, why are you always in the sun? Like, well, I'm trying to tan, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Year round, baby. I'm beautiful. No.
You are. Yes.
But
Yes. And especially just, not only in our field, but I am passionate about those racial inequalities that are out there as well. So the episode was just resonated all around for me. So, yeah. And it's just something you don't think about.
Yeah. And especially with disabilities and people with disabilities in general, they're already kind of have a stigma in society, which is, it sucks. That's the way it is. But, and then to have racial inequality on top of it, it has to be just like a terrible place to be. Yeah. And it's not, Tony and I talk about this all the time with people with disabilities. I've been out to events. I didn't have any experience in the field before starting to work with Tony. And, you go out and I'm the photographer and the guy taking video and stuff. And, people look at people with disabilities differently. They're almost like, what are these people doing? I'm sure they're, making fun off in the corner and stuff like that. And it really sucks to see, because I get to know these people on an individual level, and, they might not be able to talk, or they have a hard time hearing, but they still have the personality. And it's not just like, oh, get away from me, So that's overcoming that is just myself was difficult at first, but now it's just kind of like, Tony always tells me, he's like, just talk to someone with disability like you're talking to me. You don't have to slow down and be loud. And so, I definitely appreciate that perspective coming in. So, do you have any kind of words of wisdom for the general public? Because we're all in this field. We get it. Anybody who would be listening is probably in the field too, but like, on how to interact with people with disabilities.
Right. No, I think you hit the nail right on the head. You just treat them how you would any other person. I know it's hard to kind of get over, especially when you encounter a person with disabilities that have, like their communication skills are maybe a little lower. So you don't know where IQ-wise if they're understanding everything that you're saying, or, or they're not. So that would, I can't sum it up better than what you said. You just treat them like you would anybody else. They usually give you cues on whether or not they're understanding you or not, or
if they want to change the conversation or not.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Me being such a social butterfly, like, again, like back to not even only our early podcast, but when I even think about it, like I was always amazed that I got paid to do what I do. The hardest part was probably like, personal care, bathing and stuff like that. That was probably a little different for me early on, but like just having a good time. I remember the first time I took an individual to the bar, and I did get those looks like, oh, wow, like, are they allowed to drink? And it's like, yeah,
right.
I can't because I'm working. I wish I could. But, having those type of scenarios were always awesome to me, because, you think an individual is funny on their own, let them get some drinks in them. Oh, man, they won't stop. Right. At least the individual I had at that present time. And I don't know, off subject, just a little bit. I remember the first time, I've never been a person to go into an adult bookstore or anything like that. But one time I had to go to work and take somebody there. And I tell you, it was a good excuse because my wife asked why I had to. Hey, it was for work.
That's right.
It was strictly for work.
You got a free
Sure.
pass.
And yes, I
Sure,
did.
sure,
Yeah. Matter of fact, I got to go to work later tonight. No, I'm joking. I'm playing, babe. Go.
Yeah.
Hey, Amy. Now, I've always wanted to help put together some programs to help teach families more on the side of the DSPs because I do think some families get it confused that DSPs are there for them versus the individual. Does your organization offer any trainings like that for families or for even staff to understand how the families feel and believe?
I wish I had a better response for you, but actually currently we don't. So it's on our strategic plan, which was supposed to be jump started this year. Unfortunately, COVID has kind of taken top priority, but so NOWAC does offer some trainings. We did a lot more before the state actually moved a lot of the trainings onto their website and offered them for free. So I'm not sure if you guys know, but you guys can go on as providers to your DODD account, and there's something called My Learning, and there's videos out there that you can tap into. DODD has a YouTube channel. I don't know that that's widely known as well, where they post different training type videos for county boards, for providers, for families, for guardians, for individuals, just a wide variety of videos out there. So part of NOWAC's strategic planning was to revamp their training modules, update them, and be more specific to the needs that are currently out there. And unfortunately, with COVID, we just haven't been able to tackle that this year. So I can take your suggestion, though, and develop. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to that in 2021. So
Hey, please, and we definitely think that would be something useful. We tried it. I want to say roughly a year ago. We did, a couple test runs. I can't say it was widely received, and it could have been mainly because some of the parents that we did, they were just. I don't like the phrase. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but it was kind of that situation.
yeah,
So.
yes, I know exactly where you're coming from.
So with you kind of overseeing the county boards, I know my wife works on one of the county boards around here in Fulton County. Do you have any, advice for, maybe people working in the county board position to kind of navigate through COVID a little bit better? I know we kind of keep coming back to that, but it seems like everything's kind of crazy right now with what they're dealing with. Cause I mean, we're both working from home and, I hear the conversations she's having like through the wall occasionally. And I'm just like,
Right.
I don't know how you guys are dealing with that.
And he just wants to get out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like we mentioned before, it's not just the county board, and I'm sure provider end, everybody's feeling it. But I think the county board, they have a challenge. There's a social services agency that now is primarily being moved remote because of the pandemic. And I think that's a very hard job to do completely remote and stay connected. Not because it's, you have your computer and you can make phone calls wherever you go, but the face-to-face and checking in with the individuals, I think that's what's lacking right now. And it's no fault of the county board. It's just a result of the pandemic. But, I would probably tell them the same thing I'm telling everybody is just fight the good fight and we'll all get through this. Like it's tough. And, I think just acknowledging when you're having a bad mental health day and when it's time to call it quits and work, to work on your mental health and know where your limit is and to be able to walk away and just take a break before you have to dive back into it. I think that's important for anybody in any position in our field, like right now. Unfortunately, I think DSPs can't always do that, but yeah, I think that's very important. And I commend all the SSAs at the county board, all the EI departments at the county board. I know superintendents are really working hard right now as well, just with all the different issues in every area. So I commend the county boards too. I mean, they've got a tough job as well.
What do you miss the most about just regular life? Like, personally, I just miss going to the gym. I want to go to the gym so bad.
Yes. I'm not a big traveler per se,
Okay.
but I want to travel. Like, I want to be able to book a vacation and go somewhere. Like, I thought I missed restaurants, and we went to our first restaurant recently, and I really don't miss it. Like, I enjoy being able to pick up the takeout and go home. Like, I really don't miss that as much as I thought. So I think as of right now, until I can book a trip and go somewhere and then say, that wasn't worth it. But I think traveling, like just being able to go out and do little things, especially going into the winter months, it was fine when we picked up and we went to a few metro parks with the kids over the summer, stuff that was outdoor. But now that we're going into the winter months, finding stuff that we can still do that we feel safe doing. So that's going to be tough.
On the line with that, I missed the Fulton County Fair. I never thought I would miss it as much until I couldn't go to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, between that and just like I said, the gym or a basketball court, like, those simple pleasures have really, really left us. But man, this wasn't supposed to be this downing. Like, I blame you, Paul. It's all Paul's fault, everybody. He brought up COVID.
Thank you.
It all goes back to that right now.
Right.
It's just been a front and center for so long in the last few days that it's all I can come back to. So, Amy, we want to thank you for coming on tonight. We really appreciate your expertise, your knowledge. I don't know if you have any closing words that you want to share with the people, whether it's a personal anecdote or anything about the field that you wish people would know that maybe they don't get an opportunity to talk about very often. We'll let you have the floor here. I hate to put you on the spot.
And any social media tags. Give us everything that you got.
Buy the shirt, swipe up. No.
Yeah, there we go. You got it.
Yeah. Oh wow, you kind of are putting me on the spot.
I know.
feel like
That's
I
what
should
we're
have
good for.
something very wise to say and something very inspiring, but
Don't eat the sugar, just pick your boogers. I don't.
I know, right? Right. Just go back to COVID conversations because we can talk all day about those. No. I mean, I guess my words of wisdom right now are just hang in there. We're all in this together. Know that it's exhausting right now with everything going on. But I think we'll get through this. And I think once we get through it, we'll realize that, we got through it together and not independently. And that'll mean something. I really just have that hope. So, for this field, I mean, just keep working at 110% and doing the best you can for the individuals we serve. I mean, that's about all I can say. So.
Well, those are very kind words, and they're appreciated. And again, ladies and gentlemen, Amy is an awesome lady. For the short time that we've got to know each other, I'm very proud to say that she is dedicated to this field of work, and she is going to continue pushing forward for us to have the resources and the education that we need for the individuals we serve. So keep rocking, Amy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the Friends for Life podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. We'd like to thank Amy Rohdy for coming on tonight, and see you next time.